It's hard not to worry as a parent, the little worries, the big worries. But have you ever had a moment where one of those worries was suddenly lifted? It was suddenly gone. Like you almost forgot that you had a choice to put it down. That happened to me last year sitting at a mall drinking smoothies with my daughter. For years, I carried this deep fear that my divorce had ruined her life. I worried she'd grow up resenting me, feeling torn between two homes, longing for a childhood she didn't get. And no matter how much gentle parenting or love affirmations or stuffies I gave her, it would never be enough for her to forgive me for this. And in a moment of openness over our smoothies, I just blurted it out behind sunglasses because, let's be real, crying at the food court is a whole new level of public vulnerability. I told her that I was sorry that I had made the choices that led to her growing up in a two-home family. I hoped one day she could forgive me. And do you know what she said? She looked me right in the eyes, calm, steady, 7 years old, and said, "It's okay, Mom. It's okay." And that was it. Suddenly, this impromptu moment of healing from me just being real with my kiddo. So, we're going to talk about that today. If you're worried about your kids because of the divorce or the state of the world, or just that the screens are rotting their brains, I want to remind you the kids are going to be okay. And not just because the universe works in mysterious ways, and it does, but they're going to be okay because of us, because we are going to show up for them. So I'm going to talk today about 3 things that we can do to make sure our kids thrive. Hey, welcome to Practice Your Positive Daily. I am Sass Schaeffer. I'm so happy to be here with you. We try to cover a variety of topics on Practice Your Positive Daily for your mind, your body, and your relationships. So today we're going to follow up with this Parent Your Positive segment and talk about parenting and 3 ways that we can be sure that our kids thrive no matter what goes on in the world. So number 1, be present physically and mentally. I'll be honest, there have been times when I'm with my daughter, but I'm not really there, right? Part of my mind is just nodding along to her in person as she tells some 7-minute story about a kid and a dog and art class. But really, my mind might be on an email or a text or some ridiculous errand I have to run that really doesn't matter. But I've been catching myself. I get it. We have a lot to do. But I started really catching myself and having a lot of accountability. And so anymore, when I pick up my phone when we're together, I will literally say out loud what I'm doing with it. And it helps me stay on track. And so I pick it up and I say, I'm responding to a text from Carol, or I'm checking the weather for tomorrow. And if I'm not done with that task in 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and we both know that I've slipped off, and it helps me anchor. It starts with being there mentally. It made such a difference. And physically too. I know for a lot of us, we maybe don't have the physical affection, or we don't have as much intimacy or physical touch as maybe we crave. And so I started making a huge deal out of maintaining physical touch, especially because of the co-parent house and because I don't see her every day. And so now heart-to-heart hugs when she comes home, whether it's from dad's house or from school or from the rec center or an activity, it's part of our routine. As soon as she walks in the door, before I launch into what was your homework, let's get ready for swim, what do you want for dinner, I tell her, stop. And I say it to myself too, like, stop, come here. And we hug. I try and hug for like 7 to 10 seconds because that's how long it takes for oxytocin to be released in our brains. And we get that big rush of love and of good feeling from oxytocin. I give her that big heart to heart hug and I really ground the two of us. And I say, you're home, you're safe, we're good. I love you so much. I'm so happy we're here together and we're going to have a great night. It takes our evening to a whole different level every time I do that. And when I don't do that and I get rushed into taking care of stuff and emptying a lunchbox, I have to bring us back to that. And so here's the question for you. Where can you check back in? Is there maybe a time or a place where you're not there mentally or physically, or maybe you feel like the kids are getting like too old for all that physical affection? I bet they're not. So think about putting down your phone more, or setting a small ritual like a hug at a bedtime check-in, or just really looking at your kid when they're talking to you. Eye contact, getting down on their level if they're a shorty, it makes such a difference, because it's not about a to-do list, it's about attention. All right, number 2, we're going to talk about the tough stuff. I know we can do this. I know we can do this. I didn't grow up in a house where we talked about everything. A lot of things were brushed under the rug or just not said. And I spent years figuring stuff out on my own. This was before Google, so I didn't have anyone to ask, and I couldn't just Google things. I don't know if the kids are better off for having Google and being to look things up, but they should hear it from us. When I became a parent, I knew I wanted to do things differently. It doesn't always come easy. I remember last year we had 2 hurricanes in Florida, and we were hunkered down for Hurricane Milton, which was projected to be a category 5. And if we're in Pinellas County and a category 5 came through, there was a lot of time thinking as we're prepping, like, what if this is it? Like, what if we actually get leveled? And out of nowhere, I just said to her, hey, you know what? I'm going to die one day, like real, I know, real casual, right? But instead of shutting down, she met me there. She saw the weight of the situation, and it made sense for us to have that conversation. So instead of shying away or being afraid of that like juicy moment, I hung in it, and I brought her with me. And you know what? We had a great conversation around it. And I was able to say some of the things as a parent you want to say to your kid, but it feels awkward. So when you have those moments, I encourage you to embrace them. I realize in that moment that the hardest conversations are often the most important ones. And there is nothing that I want left unsaid between me and my daughter, especially when it comes to big stuff. Okay, so here's your challenge. What's a conversation that you haven't had because it feels uncomfortable? Maybe it's about, mental health or peer pressure, or just even admitting that you're having a bad day and saying, I say, Claire, it's a mom problem, not a Claire problem, right? I'm struggling today, but it's not about you. If there is something that you wish your parents had talked to you about, break the cycle, right? Create that own openness with your kids. It feels scary at first, but once you pass through it, amazing. You feel like a superhero parent. All right. And number 3, be the role model, not just the rule maker. Have you ever noticed how kids pick up on the tiniest things? I love when I see a parent and a kiddo and they're like walking the same way and they're dressed in similar clothes. And right, you can just see how closely our kids mimic us, and not just the pleases or thank yous, but they are always watching you, the way you react when you're stressed, the way you talk about yourself, the way you talk about other people, the way you show up or don't. They are watching everything, those little buggers, right? A few months ago, my daughter saw me on Canva, doing some items for the nonprofit and for my business. And she wanted to see it, right? She wants to grow up to be an artist. And so I just released her. I didn't teach her anything. She's smart enough. I let her figure it out. As she was doing this, she watched me starting my business, taking risks, putting myself out there, and talking openly about my dreams, my goals, and my plans to make them happen. Next thing I know, I set up an online store. She sells her ebook to friends. She made $100 in a month just doing something she loves. And not because I preached, you should be an entrepreneur, start a business, but because she saw me doing it and did it better and faster and quicker, and loves that she beat me to being a published author. And low key, I love it too. And that's the real lesson, telling your kids to eat healthy, but then living off, coffee and stress. They are watching, and they do the things we do. You can't tell them them to go after your dreams and then not chase yours. They notice everything. So if there's something that you're always telling your kids that maybe you need to start showing them, now is the time. And believe me, as a transformational speaker, I yap at my kiddo a lot. So I'm working on this too, right? Maybe it's prioritizing, taking a break. They should see you taking a break, not zoning out and scrolling, but sitting down, relaxing, enjoying life, speaking kindly about yourself, speaking kindly about others, going for the things that you say you want to do. Because the truth is, the kids don't need us to be perfect. They need us to be real, and they need us in the game with them. All right, positive of the day. I love this one. Today, or next time you see your kiddo, give them a 10-second hug, heart to heart, right? Heart to heart. When you're reunited after school or after work, get them before they get in the car or once you get home, a 10-second hug. And if this would surprise your kid or freak them out, simply tell them something like, I learned today that if we hug for 10 seconds, our brains release all these happy, feel-good hormones, right? And we both feel love. Let's try, right? Let's see if it works. They'll believe anything. Just frame the story, right? Tell them you want to give them a 10-second hug because you love them, because you miss them, right? Say the things that you're thinking. I love it. Hold space for next generation. They are watching, they are learning, and they're gonna be okay. Hold that space for them. Positive things don't happen by accident. They happen on purpose and with practice. All right. Great episode today. And a special shout out to my shorty. I love you, Freddie. MCA Sugar Pop.